recorded as well as live streamed on YouTube. I want to also remind the defendants that you have certain constitutional rights. The first being that you have a right to representation at this juncture in your case, and you should know who your attorneys are at this point. You also have the right to remain silent. Remember that anything that you state about the facts, the circumstances, or the occurrences that have happened in your case can and will be used against you at a later date. So govern yourselves accordingly and listen to your attorneys. What is our SAP reset date?
The SAP reset date is July 11th.
July 11th. Okay, I see it in the chat. I hadn't clicked on the chat yet. July the 11th. All right, deputies, who do we have first?
Position 1.
Okay. That is case number 23 CR 004040G. Looks like Janiyah Albritton.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, charged with 2 counts of battery, 3rd count of theft by taking. Offense date May 25th, 2022. Pre-trial.
Second arrest last week on the 25th of this month. Possession of marijuana out of Clayton County.
All right.
So this must have been outstanding.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
All right, who do we have for the state?
Me, Your Honor, Ms. James.
Ms. James, all right.
Yes. Your Honor, it appears that this incident occurred on May 22nd, 2022. It started at the location of 2580 Picardy Circle North. The defendant and the victim, I believe her name is Amaya Wilson. I'm not sure how to pronounce the first name, but they got into a verbal altercation. The defendant took the victim's car and went to another location, and that location was at the infamous Styles at 5437 Old National Highway. When the victim found out where the defendant was located, she and her mother, Lakeisha Williams, went to that location. It appears that there were some of the victim's belongings in the car. So when she got there, the victim was able to get some of her belongings, but according to the victim's statement, the defendant had taken her PayPal card. And so the victim's mother, Ms. Williams, confronted the defendant and asked her to return it and tried to block her from going inside of the infamous Styles. This is when the defendant struck the victim's mother, Ms. Williams, and then went into the infamous Styles, got into a physical altercation with the victim. And as a result, it was noted that the victim suffered bruising as well. The defendant used the victim's PayPal card at a Family Dollar and obtained cash in the amount of $282. And so the state is asking for a $6,500 surety bond, $3,000 for each battery and $500 for the theft by taking. Have no further contact with the victims, to stay away from the address, and to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And we'd like to ask if you would sound for the victims.
Tell me, I have Miss Williams for the mom, and
Yes.
what is the other victim's name?
Miss Wilson, Amaya,
Wilson.
Amya Wilson.
Okay, Amaya Wilson or Miss Williams, any of you on the call regarding Miss Alberton? All right. Don't have any victims on the line. Go ahead. Is this PD Wills?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
And good
right.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My client is 20 years old. She is a native of Georgia. She is currently employed as a kitchen manager with New Orleans Daiquiri Bar and Grill. She's been employed there for the past 4 months. She will not qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. She has a high school diploma from Banneker High School and wants to join the military. My client denies the allegations as alleged. I do want to note that this alleged incident did happen May of 2022. Miss Albritton tells me that Miss Williams tried to strike her with her vehicle, and that it was actually Miss Williams and Miss Wilson who instigated the physical altercation, and that they actually both jumped her at the incident location. The infamous Styles is where my client gets her hair done and cut. And Miss Wilson was a prior employee there, but she is no longer employed there. My client tells me that she does not have any contact and has not had any contact with Miss Wilson or Miss Williams pretty much since the incident. I would object to the state's request of a $6,500 bond. Currently, my client's bond is set at $3,000 and she's unable to afford that, Your Honor. I would ask that her bond, that she either be given a signature on bond, especially in fact that this happened over a year ago. My client has had no contact, and this is just, well, actually would have been her first arrest had she remained on the scene. And she does have aspirations to join the military. So I would ask for a signature on bond. If Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask that her bond be reduced from the current $3,000 bond.
And what's the breakdown on the current $3,000 bond? Do you know?
It's $1,000 per charge.
Okay, just a simple 1,000. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this is Anna Allen supervising today for the Solicitor's Office.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Just
Good.
right off the bat, I want to point out that the time between a warrant and an incident being, a warrant being obtained and an incident happening and arrest date is really irrelevant at this point. That just means that no one was able to locate Mrs. Albritton. The warrant was issued at the time of this incident and she just wasn't located. So that has no bearing on the veracity of this case or anybody's criminal history or any of these bond factors. It doesn't mean we don't have a strong case.
Right. I understand. I was toying a little bit with, she's 20 years old, it's her second arrest, and her contacts, looks like she was working.
And Your Honor, I would argue against that it does go against the fact of risk of reoffense. It's been over a year. My client has had no further incidents with Miss Williams or Miss Wilson.
And so right now we have the 3,000 and the state is asking to increase it to 6,500. Is that what I understand?
That's correct, Your Honor.
I will go a little bit in between as far as ordering the bond. I think that what I'm going to do is to order a $4,000 surety bond. And so I will order the 1,500 on each of the batteries and 1,000 on the theft. So that would be 4,000. Is that correct on my math? Yeah. All right. So I will order a $4,000 surety bond. And I will order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I'm going to order stay away from the incident location. I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Miss Wilson and Miss Williams. And I think that will be it. Anything else, counsel?
Your Honor, just one request. My client, she still goes to that salon to get her hair done. Neither Miss Williams or Miss Wilson are affiliated with that salon.
So we want to add that address as well. And I think that was on Old National Highway somewhere.
Yes,
Can you give us that
that's the incident location. That's what I'm saying. My client gets her hair done there, but the victims don't work there or they don't have any business there.
All right.
We
What is
actually
the-
don't know that at this point. Why don't we just say stay away from the two victims, named victims? They're not here to tell us whether they also get their hair done there or any of that particular information, and that would make more sense to the state if that's okay with Ms. Wills.
And to stay
Right.
away from the victim's other address, the 2580 Bacardi Circle.
So that's where the victims live.
That's where the initial incident took place. We haven't been able to confirm if that's where they live, but that's according to the report, that's where it initially took place and then moved to her hair salon.
Right, because then the allegations are that we'll just I think I'll defer with Solicitor General Allen, and that is to have no further contact with the victims wherever they may be. And I would not want to say that she can't, she makes bond, get her hair done at that place if she knows, she goes in there, and I'm sure PD Wills will explain it to her, and the victims are there, she needs to not go in. Or when she determines they're there, she needs to get out wherever they are, and just kind of leave it blanket and no further contact in any location with the victims. Okay. So we'll make sure that the victims are safe.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, that'll conclude this case.
Position 5, Ms. Gray.
23 CR 004033G, Quintisha Gray, charge of 1 count of battery, family violence, offense date June 26, 2023, pretrial.
It's a fourth adult arrest. 2016 simple battery was the last. 2015 shoplifting first offender. 2015 shoplifting conviction.
All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place on June 26, 2023. Officer was dispatched to a dispute call at 2798 Peak Road Northwest in Atlanta. Upon arrival, the officers spoke with the victim, who is Trellaney Gray OG. That's spelled Trellany, last name Ojie, who stated that she was beaten by her daughter, the defendant. Officer observed that Ms. Trellaney OG had a busted lip. Defendant stated that officers went and spoke with the defendant. The defendant stated that her mother was drunk and began to attack her, and she defended herself. However, officers did not locate any marks or bruises to the defendant, and the defendant stated that she was not hurt. The state is recommending $2,000 surety bond, and we'd like no further contact and to stay away and to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. However, the victim has requested that she have no violent contact and that she would like for the defendant to return to the resident. And she said that she had not had any problems with the defendant and that she's not afraid of her. They just had an argument that got heated. And if you would sound for the victim, her name is Trellaney Gray OG.
What's the relationship?
Their mother and daughter.
Mother and daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, is the victim Trellaney Gray LG on the line, on the Zoom call? Nope. All right, go ahead, PD Wills.
Thank you. My client is 29 years old. She's a native of Atlanta. She is employed by Walmart. She's been employed there for the past 3 or 4 months. She recently obtained her high school diploma. She has 2 children, a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. In speaking with my client, she reiterates what's in the report, that her mother was intoxicated, that they were engaged in a verbal altercation. Her mother was the primary aggressor. And I would like it pointed out that just because you're the primary aggressor does not mean that you are the better fighter. My client defended herself. She states that her mother grabbed her from behind in front of her children, which scared both her and her children, and she attempted to de-escalate the situation by restraining her mother, but she did nothing other than that. She has no desire to return back to her mother's home. She would like to request a one-time law enforcement escort to pick up her belongings and gather her children, and she will move somewhere else. My client's last arrest was 2016. Again, she is 29 years old. I would ask for a signature on bond. If Your Honor is not so inclined, I will ask for a $500 bond.
All right. I'm going to order a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial per judge. I'm going to order no further contact, since that's what she wants, no further contact with the victim. I'm going to order a stay away from 2798 Peak Road Northwest. I'm going to order one-time law enforcement escort to return to retrieve her personal belongings and also to get her children. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I believe I also ordered that one-day anger awareness course through pretrial. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your
All
Honor.
right. Next case.
Position 10,
Okay.
Ms. Jackson.
This is 23 CR 004042E. Wanda Jackson. Is it Jackson or Johnson? Jackson? Jackson. All right. The charge is 1 count of battery family violence pretrial.
So fifth arrest, 2014 simple battery dismissed. 2012 theft by receiving motor vehicle. That's it.
All right. State.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on yesterday at 267 Marietta Street Northwest in Atlanta. Officers responded to a call at that location in room 804 in regard to a fight that was occurring at approximately 2:55 in the morning. The call came from the front desk clerk for the hotel. Upon the officer's arrival, the officers went upstairs to the 8th floor with the assistance of the hotel management and discovered the victim, Mr. Tony Jackson, bleeding from the back of his head. The officers then observed the defendant screaming at someone on the phone, and after attempting to separate both parties, it appeared that by officers' observation that the defendant was very intoxicated and would not be cooperative. She was then detained and separated from the victim, at which point the victim informed the officers that he and the defendant had been drinking for several hours, and the two had got into a verbal argument. And during that argument, the defendant picked up a glass bottle and hit him on top of his head, causing him to bleed. Our office was able to contact the victim, who stated that he would be on Zoom today. So at an appropriate time, we asked that you call for the victim, Mr. Tony Jackson. He also stated that the two do not have a violent history. He does not fear the defendant and would like contact with the defendant and for her to be able to return to their residence. However, the state feels that there has not been an adequate amount of time for them to cool off, as this just happened yesterday. And as such, we're asking for a $3,000 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, as well as their residence if the victim is currently living there. No further contact with the victim, Mr. Tony Jackson, anger awareness, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
All right. PD Wills.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to sound for Mr. Tony Jackson if he is here. I attempted to make contact with him.
Okay, Mr. Tony Jackson. Tony Jackson. Don't see him. Go ahead.
I believe he might be listed under iPhone.
Oh, Mr. Jackson, is that you under iPhone?
It appears he's trying to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you and can't see you.
Okay.
There you
see
go.
me?
Yep, got both. All right, Mr. Jackson, do you wish to make a statement to the court today?
I will.
Okay, I'm gonna swear you in first. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me swear you in. Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
It is. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And what would you like to tell me?
The night that happened, me and my wife, we both had too much to drink. nothing like this never occurred. I love my wife. I want to have contact with my wife and do some counseling. No drinking no more, period, with us. We don't have kids together, but we have a kid. Her daughter stay with us. Right now, she's in college. I help with her, I provide for her. I'm gonna be more the leader because I was drinking a little beer. We really don't drink liquor, and at night we drink a little liquor. And I just want to be with my wife and get some counseling. I don't want nothing to happen to her. I want her to come home.
Not in fear of her.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. She's not a violent person at all.
How long have you been married?
3 years. I've been knowing her for 6 years.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any cross-examination by the state? Any cross-examination, PD Wills?
No, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge.
Mhm.
My client is 38 years old. She is a native of Atlanta. She's employed by E10 Supercharger as a machine operator. She's been there for the past 4 months. She will not qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. She does have a GED. She does not have any children, minor children in the home. As it was mentioned, she does have a daughter who attends Georgia Tech, who is over the age of 18. Mr. Jackson is her husband. My client does desire to have no further violent contact with him moving forward. They live in Athens together. My client does not have any support system in Athens, as she's originally from Atlanta, and she does not have anywhere else that she could go. She's forbidden from returning to the marital residence, and believes that that would cause her to lose her employment. My client denies the allegations as alleged. However, she does admit that there was a verbal altercation, and that Mr. Jackson fell, which was the source of his injuries. The last time my client was arrested was 2014. I would ask for a signature on bond, and also ask that the court follow the request of Mr. Jackson and allow these two to have no further violent contact, and attend marital counseling, and whatever other services or resources they deem appropriate.
Okay. I'm going to order the $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm going to order the one-day anger awareness course. I'm going to order no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons or guns while on bond. And as far as contact, I have heard from the victim. There has not been, hasn't been 24 hours with the cooling off period. But I will go ahead and order no further violent contact, and hope that that will provide some safety for Mr. Jackson. As far as the stay away, this 267 Marietta Street, that was at a hotel.
Correct, Your Honor.
And so is that where they stay, or that was just temporary location?
No, they were visiting Atlanta for Mr. Jackson's birthday. They reside in Athens.
Right, you did say Athens. Well, with no further violent contact, I don't know, do I want them back together, living together so soon, even though there's no violent contact? I guess it doesn't make sense to do a stay away. And hopefully this is a one-time incident that will, that they will have no other such incidents going forward.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 18, Ms. Wright.
This 23 CR 004043A Carmen Wright, charged with 1 count of battery family violence pretrial.
Oh, first arrest.
Oh, okay. First, go ahead, state.
Your Honor, this offense happened yesterday, June 26th of this year at 1131 Lookout Avenue Northwest. Officers responded to the location. They spoke with the victim, Mr. Kyle Brown, who informed the officers that his girlfriend and him got into an argument concerning their relationship. Mr. Brown locked himself in the bathroom and the defendant banged on the door, and shortly thereafter, Mr. Brown did attempt to leave the bathroom, and he was met with the defendant at the entryway, in which she grabbed a soda and cut Mr. Brown in an attempt to stab him with the can. Officers did observe scratches to Mr. Brown's lower stomach. The state was able to talk to Mr. Brown today, and the parties have been together for 2 years, and they do share a 1-year-old daughter. The defendant is currently 3 months pregnant. In the home that this incident occurred is Mr. Brown's, and the defendant stays with him intermittently. Mr. Brown does want contact and does say that he will bond her out. However, Your Honor, the state is asking for no contact considering that this incident occurred yesterday. So the state is requesting $3,500 for a surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, 1-day anger awareness program, and no further contact with Mr. Kyle Brown. And I would like to sound for Mr. Brown.
All right, Mr. Kyle Brown, I see you there on the screen. Are you Mr. Brown?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Do you wish to make a statement to the court today?
Yes, just that,
Hold on a
this
second.
is just really,
Hold on.
yes, ma'am.
Let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead. What would you like to say?
This just all stemmed from argument, and it's really nothing serious. As I told officers, I didn't want anyone to be arrested, but he told me that was some type of protocol that had to happen. Really, I just needed to come home as soon as possible. We're just in the middle of raising our family. We just had an argument, so it's nothing serious. I don't want any, if we could have this not happen, I'd rather it be so. And so the goal is just to get her home as soon as possible.
All right, thank you. Any cross-examination from the state? Any cross-examination from the PD's office? Okay.
No, Your
All
Honor,
right.
but I
Go
would like to
ahead.
defend my client. Miss Wright is 38 years old, Your Honor. She's from Pennsylvania. She moved to Georgia about 2 years ago because of the relationship with Mr. Kyle Brown. And also they live together, they work together. Mr. Kyle Brown operates appliance repair company, and my client is office manager working for him. And so we would like to request for no further violent contact. Otherwise, she will be out of job, out of place in Georgia, and that would be very, very not safe for her and her 1-year-old daughter. And besides, she's 3 months pregnant, Your Honor. We would like to request for a signature on bond for her. Otherwise, she will be completely unemployed, and she will be, of course, represented by public defender's office. And yet it was my client who was hurt, and she denies anything about, canned soda whatsoever. She denies the allegation. She has total of 4 children, Your Honor. Not only these 2, there are 2 more, and she is willing to stay at cousin's place if she has to stay away from Mr. Kyle Brown. And yet I strongly would like to recommend for no further violent contact. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to order $3,500 signature bond through pretrial per judge. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. I'm going to order the 1-day anger awareness course. I'm going to order no further violent contact with Mr. Kyle Brown, since they have 2 small children. I'm wondering if they would need any contact with each other regarding those small children. So no further violent contact. As far as the stay away, I know you mentioned she has somewhere else she could stay.
She does. She
She
lives
has
with
a-
family here, not too far.
Okay, so let's do the stay away from the 1131 Lookout Avenue. And if there, it's gonna be an exchange of the children. I don't know if they're gonna be staying there with her. But do you all have a third party or that family member that can help you with the exchange of the children, Mr. Brown?
Yes, we have multiple
Okay.
family members that can help us with that situation.
Okay, let's do that while Ms. Wright is on bond. And I think that's it. Anything else, counsel?
I just want to clarify that it is no further violent contact with Mr. Kyle Brown. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, that'll conclude this case.
Position 3, Mr. Fant.
Okay. This is 23 CR 004032C. John Fant, charged with 1 count of battery family violence, pretrial. Pretrial.
Ninth arrest. Last was 2020 simple battery trespass. On probation for simple assault trespass. Back in November, they gave him 12 months probation. Also on probation, pointing, aiming pistol at another. 22 SC 182022. And a 2017 probation violation.
All right. State.
Yes, Your Honor. On June 26, 2023, officers were dispatched to the location of 3390 Stratford Road Northeast regarding a male fighting a woman. Upon arrival, officers met with the victim, whose name is Alyssa Beebe. The victim stated that her boyfriend, who was later identified as a defendant, they were in a verbal dispute regarding messages that he saw in her phone. She stated that she and the defendant had been together for a year and living in his apartment for 3 months, but that his name is not on the lease for the apartment. She stated that the defendant grabbed both her arms, and in the process, he ripped off her shirt. And she also said that he punched and grabbed her and threw her to the ground. It was noted that she had bruises and scratches on both her arms. She also said that she went downstairs because he took her phone and she was able to call for help. Later, the officers spoke with the defendant, and he stated the same story according to the officers, and that there was a verbal dispute, but he said he never put his hands on her, and he says that, he doesn't know how she got the bruises. And Your Honor, we have spoken with the victim. She does not want to be on Zoom, but she stated that, in addition to what was already reported, that the defendant tried to cash app himself $1,000 from her account, and he took $50 from her wallet, and that she had filed for TPO, and she's afraid of the defendant. She doesn't want any contact, and she wants him to stay away from her residence, and that she is okay with him getting a one-time police escort for the defendant to get his belongings. And the state is also asking for a $5,000 surety bond. And this is because the defendant has some violent histories.
All right. Go ahead. Do we need to sound for the victim? I think you said she didn't want to be on. So
She did
she's
not want to
here.
be on.
Okay.
You'd like to
That's
sound
fine.
for her, you can, but she indicated
No.
that. she won't. Mhm.
Okay, we'll just go forward. PD Wills.
Thank you. Mr. Fant is 29 years old. He has resided in the state of Georgia for the past 6 years. He is employed as a website developer for Shock Theory Interactive. And he's been employed with them for the past 6 years. He does have a high school diploma. He does not have any children. We would like a one-time law enforcement escort for Mr. Fant to get his belongings from the premises. He will not be returning there. He is okay with not having any further contact with the alleged victim. My client states that it was the alleged victim who charged at him, that he tried to get away from her to de-escalate the situation, and that she was upset because he had stated he was going to leave her home and wanted to separate from her for a brief period of time. He believes that the injuries that were noted by law enforcement may have occurred after the alleged victim rammed herself into the door when he was trying to close it to get away from her. He denies that anything like this has ever happened before, and states that the apartment was in disarray because he was in the process of moving. And so that was something that was noted in the police report. I would request a signature on bond. If Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask that his bond not be greater than $1,000.
Okay. I'm going to I'm going to order a $4,000 surety bond. And with that $4,000 surety bond, I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Alyssa Beatty. Is it Beatty or Beatty? Might have pronounced it wrong.
I'm not sure, it's B-E-E-B-E.
Okay.
B-E-B.
Beatty. No further contact with her. To stay away from the 3390 Stratford Road Northeast. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I think that is it. Anything else, counsel?
The one-time law enforcement escort.
Yes, and I wrote that down. One-time law enforcement escort to return to the property to retrieve your personal belongings. Do not go by yourself. Arrange that with law enforcement. Anything else, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Position 4, Mr. Foreman.
Okay. 23 CR 004036A, Dorian Foreman. Charged with 1 count of giving false information to law enforcement, pretrial.
6 total. Last arrest was back in April for PR. Got an open shoplifting. Got history out of Texas as well. Yeah, he got an FTA warrant out of Gainesville too.
Okay.
And the open case in Texas is assault causing bodily injury. That's it.
All right. PD. I'm sorry, state.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on March 26, 2023 at 3:25 in the morning.
Is it March or June?
Let me double check that date, Your Honor. I apologize.
On the calendar, it has June 26.
It probably is June 26, Your Honor. I think I just had a typo.
Okay, thank you.
But the officers were patrolling the area of 10800 Alpharetta Highway when the officers observed the defendant loitering on the patio of one of the businesses in that shopping area. The officer asked the defendant why he was there, and the defendant stated that he was waiting for the business to open so he can apply for a job. However, due to the fact that it was 3:25 in the morning and the businesses were closed, the officer believed that the defendant was loitering and prowling, and he furthered his investigation. The officer then asked the defendant for his ID. The defendant stated that he did not have an ID on him and provided the officer with the name of Darnell Williams. The officer attempted to run that name through GCIC, nothing returned. The officer then asked him to write his name down, and the defendant provided the name of Darnell Williamson. The officer ran both names and nothing returned. The officer asked him a third time, and then the defendant provided the name of Dorian Williamson. Officer ran that information and nothing returned from that either. The officer then used a fingerprint scanner, which identified the defendant as Doria Brown, which is one of the aliases that Mr. Foreman uses. Due to the fact that the defendant has multiple arrests, as well as he's currently have a warrant out of Texas for absconding for the assault causing bodily harm, the FTA warrant in Gainesville. The state is currently asking for a $2,000 surety bond and a no alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
All right. PD? Will?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, PD Kim, sorry.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Foreman is 28 years old, born in Pennsylvania, and he moved to Georgia not that long ago. It's been about
Sorry, PD Kim,
a
you're,
year that he has been here.
PD Kim,
And
restate
Your
that.
Honor, he
PD
is
Kim.
artist.
PD Kim,
Uh,
restate
yes.
that your internet
yes.
or something was, can you restate some of that? I did not catch it all because your internet maybe was going in and out.
Okay, Your Honor, I apologize.
It's okay.
I will try to make sure. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
now.
Okay. Let me get my notes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So he was born in Pennsylvania, but he has been here in Georgia for about a year. He has clients for his art. He's a dancer, and he has been providing dance classes to neighborhoods. And he says that he graduated from high school, and he is also a registered caregiver. We would like to request for a signature on bond since he has another warrant at Gainesville. So as long as he is released to Gainesville, I don't think that he can go anywhere other than Gainesville and Texas, since he has two other warrants that he has to take care of. So for this particular one, giving false information, we would like to ask for a signature on that. Thank you.
All right. Usually, obviously, with these kind of cases, I want to make sure that the defendant is released to one of the other jurisdictions, whether it be Gainesville or Texas, and is picked up from those and not released on a signature bond if they don't pick him up soon. And I know we talked about this on one of the other calendars. What I'd like to put in place is that, and I don't know, let me ask this question before I say this. State, do we have any inkling or idea about one of the other jurisdictions picking him up? Are these old, how old are these warrants? I didn't remember from pretrial.
At this time, I don't have anything confirmed as whether either jurisdiction will pick him up. However, I believe these warrants are just within the last year. So they're still relatively new. Yes.
Okay. And with him being arrested now, it may prompt some information to come up. I'm going to err on the side of caution a little bit and order the $2,000 surety bond. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And stay away from the incident location. I don't know if the state asked for that or not.
We did not ask for it, Your Honor. However, if you feel as though it is pertinent, we will not object.
No, I'll leave it off. We'll just give him the $2,000 surety bond. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. That'll conclude that case. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right,
Mr.
thank you.
Foreman, I know you raised your hand, but I strongly recommend you not to speak. The judge has already ruled, unless it is directly related to your bond, I strongly recommend you not to speak. You have a right to remain silent.
I don't have that right now. So what do I have to do?
Please give me a call so I can explain if there's anything.
So who I speak to?
Oh, I'll be happy to explain.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Position 6. Mr. Guyton.
Okay. This is 23 CR 004035Y. Thomas Guyton, charged with 1 count of battery family violence pretrial.
7 adult arrests. Last was 2021 simple battery. He's on probation. I'll put it in the chat for you.
Okay.
On probation also for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon at a 2019 probation violation.
All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. On May 12, 2023, officers were dispatched to the villages of Carver at the location of 177 Maury Avenue. Upon arrival, officers met with the victim, Tarika Wallace, outside. And when they met with her, she had a bleeding arm. The victim, Ms. Wallace, advised the officers that there was a verbal dispute with her children's father, Thomas Guyton, who is a defendant, and they were disputing over the 3-year-olds not attending school. During the dispute, the victim said that the defendant pushed her into the living room wall, which caused her to injure her arm. And the victim also advised that 2 of her children, Tyree Wallace and Tristan Guyton, were both present during the physical altercation. And after the physical altercation took place, this defendant fled. And we're asking for a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact, to stay away from the 177 Maury Avenue Southwest family violence program, and no alcohol, weapons, or drugs. And we're asking for that because of the defendant's history.
All right, PD Wills.
Thank you, Judge. My client is 33 years old. He is a native of Georgia. He is currently unemployed, does have a GED. He has 2 children that he shares with the alleged victim in this case. One is 8 months, the other is 3 years old. My client denies the allegations as alleged. This incident did happen back in May. And he has been in communication with and has visited with the alleged victim. Her last name escapes me at this time. And he even states that she sent an Uber to come pick him up so that they could visit together and he could see the children that they share together. My client does not live with the alleged victim. He states that on the data question that there was a verbal altercation and that he attempted to leave, that the alleged victim tried to stop him from leaving. They were arguing or pulling back and forth over one of his items. And he let go of the item, which caused the victim to fall, the alleged victim to fall. But he denies making any physical contact with her. I would ask that my client be given a signature bond, and that with the stipulation that he be released to Fayette County, where he has a current hold. And if Your Honor is not amenable to that, I would ask that his bond not be any greater than $1,000.
Your Honor, if you would sound for the victim, Tarika Wallace.
All right, is Ms. Tarika Wallace on the Zoom call? Ms. Tarika Wallace. Don't see her. All right, anything else, counsel?
No,
No.
Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to order the $5,000 surety bond. I'm going to order no further contact with Tierica Wallace. Gonna order that stay away from the 177 Maury Avenue. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that's all I order for now.
And Your Honor, can he please have third party visitation with his children?
If the victim allows visitation, that will be precipitated by a third party.
Thank you, Judge.
Mhm. All right, that's it.
Position 7, Mr. Henderson.
Okay. This is 23 CR 004038Y, Stephen Henderson, charged with 1 count of criminal trespass, a 2nd count of willful obstruction, a law enforcement officer, pretrial.
His 10th adult arrest. Last was 2020 for trespass. 2013 probation and suspended license. That's it.
All right, state.
Your Honor, what position is this?
Number 7, Henderson, Stephen Henderson. Hello?
Your Honor, I'm pulling it up.
Okay.
Pardon us. So this is a citation out of the Alpharetta Police Department for obstruction. It states that the defendant refused to place his hands behind his back when told he was under arrest, had to be physically taken to the ground and be taken into custody. This reportedly was at 2200 Encore Parkway. One moment. It also says he returned to private property after being told he was trespassed from the property. That is entering and remaining on the location at 2200 Encore Parkway, ENCORE in Alpharetta. That's the property of Ameris Bank Amphitheater. Police officers working off duty as general security at the amphitheater made contact with the defendant who'd been involved with other officers at the same venue. He was released into the care of paramedics and told that he was no longer allowed to be on the property due to previous interactions. He elected to walk off the property on his own. He was watched walking to make sure he actually got off the property onto the North Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Mr. Henderson evidently asked if he could get an Uber from that location, and he was told yes, as long as it's off the property. He continued to walk down the road. This same officer writes that as he walked out of the security office a few moments later, he noticed the defendant walking up onto the property again and told him to stop and put his hands behind his back and told him he was going to be arrested for trespassing. And that's when the obstruction allegedly occurred. He refused to put his hands behind his back, although being told to do so, and continually pulled away. He was taken to the ground and put in handcuffs. This occurred on the 26th of June, so yesterday at about 12 a.m. Let me see if there's any other information. We don't, oh, here is something. I'm just looking to see if we have a police report yet at this point. We
Okay.
don't. We just have these citations and warrants, Your Honor, out of Alpharetta.
Okay. Sounds good.
This
PD
is
Kim?
the-
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
this
Yes,
is the
Your
10th
Honor.
adult arrest.
Mhm.
What was the last? Mr. Howard in pretrial, what was the last arrest date? 2020, you said?
Who?
Sorry,
Ooh.
Mr. Henderson.
I got 2020 trespass.
Okay. That's all that we're gonna ask for at this point. Let's just see what else information is shared. Thank you.
All right. And tell me again, what was the amount of your request for bond?
I had not requested, I would say for 2 counts, $1,000 each, $2,000. Surety bond.
Okay. All right. And then do we still want to continue to stay away from that location, even though I guess he should be, but
Absolutely, absolutely.
okay. Got it. All right, PD Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Henderson is 34 years old, Your Honor. He has been employed as an estimation of plumbing project. He's been doing that for about 8 years after he got associate degree. Your Honor, he's not going to be qualified for public defender's services. He was having a really good time at an amphitheater at that night. He denies the allegation. He was not warned of not coming back to that location, Your Honor. So he strongly believes that this is kind of like a false accusation. He is not guilty of any criminal trespass. So we would like to request for a signature on bond, Your Honor. Other than 2020, the last one was 2013, almost 10 years ago. He has not had any kind of trouble for a long time. We would like to request for a signature on bond. I know, Mr. Henderson, you have a hands up. Unless it is directly related to the bond, I strongly recommend you to stay silent. You will have a day of the court. You can prove your innocence.
Okay.
In regards to the bond, actually, I'm not a flight risk, Your Honor. I've been bailed out of jail before, and I've had no problem returning to court to do my for the sentencing. I'm not a flight risk. I've lived in Atlanta my whole life, from Georgia, born and raised. All right, that's it.
All right. And were you going to say anything else, SG Allen?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I am going to order $3,000 signature bond. And I'm going to, that'll be $1,500 on each of the charges. With that $3,000 signature bond, I'm going to order that through the jail. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I guess that'll be it for the moment. Anything else, council? Oh, I'm sorry, and the stay away from the Ameris Bank Amphitheater at 2200 Encore Parkway at Alpharetta. Stay away from there while you're on bond. All right.
You did say 3,000, right?
Yes, 3,000, 1,500 on each.
Okay, thank you.
Who was
Number-
at the Ameris Bank Amphitheater last night? I just tried to look it up. I couldn't figure it out.
Weezer.
Got it.
Oh.
Sorry, Your Honor, Anna Allen for the state.
Yes.
I was
Okay.
just trying to see what kind of party we were talking about. Thank you, sir.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I was getting ready to say, why was he there? But I guess I will not ask that.
It's a concert. It was a concert.
Gotcha.
Position 12, Mr. Lawson.
Okay. This is 23 CR 004037C, Bernard Lawson, charged of 1 count of battery family violence. Pre-trial.
Second arrest. Last arrest was back in September out of Texas. Assault family member, interference with emergency request for assistance. And that appears to be open. Got a warrant, battery DV warrant out of DeKalb County. That's it.
Okay. Stay.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on June 25th, 2023 at 10:35 a.m. At 4312 Scott Circle, East Point, Georgia. Officers responded to the address for a domestic dispute call. Upon arrival, the officers were approached by a witness who stated that the victim, Ms. Nairobi Cooper, was banging on her door because she had got into an altercation with the defendant. Officers then spoke to the victim, who stated that she and the defendant had got into a verbal altercation that turned physical. She stated that the defendant became very upset with her and began to toss her around the residence. And during this altercation, she stated that the defendant scratched her on the left side of her face, causing her to bleed. Our office was able to speak to her, and she stated that she would be on the Zoom today. So at an appropriate time, we asked that you sound for her. She stated that she does not fear the defendant, and she would like to have some contact with him and to return to the residence, as that is their joint residence. However, due to the fact that this incident just occurred 2 days ago, as well as the fact that the defendant currently has an open warrant out of DeKalb County for battery, which our office was not able to confirm whether or not she is the victim in that case, and an open warrant for assault for family out of Texas. We are currently asking for a $4,000 surety bond. Stay away from the victim, Ms. Nairobi Cooper. No further contact with the victim. I apologize, Your Honor. Stay away from 4312 Scott Circle, East Point, Georgia. Anger awareness and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right. PD Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't think Ms. Cooper is here.
I do see her name. So if you would sound for her, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, Ms. Cooper, do you wish to address the court today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you do, I'll have to see you on camera. All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you put your hand down? What would you like to tell me?
The day that it happened, it was really just a misunderstanding. We were arguing about something stupid and I was grabbing on him, and then that's when he pushed me and he pushed my face and I got a mark on my face, but I was really nagging him in the situation.
Okay. And are you in fear of Mr. Lawson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, any cross-examination from the state or PD's office?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just one thing, do you guys live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Whose name is on the lease for that?
Mine.
Okay. Your Honor, my client is only 17 years old. He is still, he's actually returned back to high school. He's about to re-enroll to finish up his high school education. I believe Miss Cooper and they want to have a note for the violent contact, and yet if it makes better for him, my client, he's willing to stay away from that location and not have no further contact until this case is resolved. I spoke with his mother, Sherry Harriet. She was willing to co-sign for her son, and I was hoping that she would be coming to the Zoom hearing today, but I don't see her name. And yet her name is Charie. Last name is Herriott. She's willing to co-sign. And Your Honor, my client is also working, not only going to school, going to work. He is trying to become a singer-songwriter, and he has a big dream to go to America Got Talent someday. We would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to order the $4,000 surety bond. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. I'm going to order no further violent contact between the parties. And I'm assuming, does Mr. Lawson have somewhere else to go stay?
Yes, he will be staying with his auntie.
Okay, and to stay away from the 4312 Scott Circle in East Point. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that should conclude the case.
Was it a signature on bond, Your Honor? With a co-signer?
I had said a 4,000 surety bond is what I said. He's 18,
17, Your Honor.
17.
Yes.
Okay, I was looking at, I just noticed and paid attention. And it's just his second arrest, but he's got an open case out of Texas, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yes,
Not
Your
open
Honor. He has an open case out of Texas and a current warrant out of DeKalb.
For battery.
Well,
Yeah,
he will
domestic
be
violence
going to
assault.
DeKalb County.
Right, that's not a good record there. Even if the mother bonds him out with the surety bond, she's going to still need to do that. I'm not inclined, and I understand that he's 17, but he's at a young age with what, 3 cases, if I'm counting correct, or 2 in a potential.
And just to be clear, Your Honor, like, you know, as we see typically with domestic violence cases, there's history and these are very difficult situations, but what is being characterized to the court right now is a victim saying she created this situation, she was nagging him, and it was just something that got out of control. The 911 call was made by a neighbor who this young woman ran to their house for help. And she had visible injuries, including on her face. So, you know, what might today feel like just a misunderstanding was a crisis yesterday. And these are very young people. So we would request that there be a stay away order in place.
Right. Yeah, I know he's 17. Normally, depending on the facts, I would be inclined to give a signature bond, but I'm not. I'm going to do a surety bond and a stay away from that Scott Circle. And because of the history as well, I had said no further violent contact, but I think I'm going to switch that sorry, Ms. Champion, to no further contact with the victim. There hasn't really been the ample cooling down period. This was just a day or so ago. Want to make sure there's not going to be any more harm to the victim or any other victims for that matter. So stay away, no further contact with the victim, 4,000 surety, no drugs, alcohol, weapons or guns while on bond. And I guess if, once the mother goes to a bonding company or whatever, they'll tell her what she needs to do if she's going to bond him out. All right.
Position 14, Mr. Roden.
This is 23 CR 004031D, Michael Roden, one charge of 1 count of criminal trespass, pretrial.
7 total, 2021. Hold on. Last arrest was for battery. That's open in Bartow County. He got a probation in Bartow, burglary in the first degree. Another burglary in the first degree, terrorist threats, obstruction. And he's on parole for terrorist threats. I don't know if he has a parole hold yet, but I do know he's on parole.
All right, state.
Your Honor, this offense happened yesterday at 388 Lucky Street Northwest at the Lucky Street grocery store. Officers responded to the mentioned location. They were able to talk to the victim, Mr. Musi Michael. He's both the victim and he both owns the grocery store that this incident occurred. When the officer was then told that earlier that day, the defendant was at the location, calling the owner, Mr. Michael, out of his name and saying things about his family and refusing to leave the premises. And that's when officers were called. And they handled the original dispatch and advised the defendant that he was no longer welcomed at that location. And then defendant came back to, I guess, apologize for the main things that he said, but he was trespassing. We were able to speak, the state was able to speak to the not the defendant, but Mr. Michael, the victim. And he said that he is constantly trying to diffuse the situation by nicely asking the defendant to leave, but he refuses and seems to want to make trouble. In addition, the defendant has tried to fight him. He indicated yesterday, specifically, do you want to fight? I got something for you, while pointing at his pants pocket. The victim, Mr. Michael, is not sure if the defendant did have a weapon on him, but he does state that the defendant does not care about authority because he went back the same day. Mr. Michael does feel that he is threatened and he is in fear for both himself and his family, and he would like no contact, and he will prefer that the defendant does stay away from the business location, being that this is a reoccurring issue. So the state does recommend that a 1,000 surety bond to stay away from the location, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no further contact with the victim, Mr. Michael.
Yeah. Okay. PD Kim.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 29 years old, and he was born in Florida, and he was, after graduating from high school, he was actually incarcerated for about 20 years, I believe. Was it 15 years or 20 years? 15 years he was actually incarcerated, Your Honor, and he has been outside of the jail only for 80 days.
80 or 8?
80.
80, okay.
Yes, Your Honor, 2 months and 20 days. He's been going through a very, very difficult time. His brother was murdered, and that kind of, was very difficult. And he didn't mean to harm his Mr. Musi, and we would like to request for a signature on bond.
Excuse me. I'm going to order that $1,000 surety bond. I'm going to order a stay away from the 388 Lucky Street from the grocery store there. No further contact. Excuse me, no further contact with the victim. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And I think that's going to be it. Anything else?
Nothing further from defense.
Your Honor, thank you.
Position 1515, Mr. Swenson.
Good evening.
All right, this is 23 CR 0040445F. Gregory Swenson, charged of 1 count of willful obstruction, law enforcement officer. Pretrial.
15 total. Hold on. Oh, that's the next guy. Last arrest 2019, got 2 counts of burglary, possession of tools, theft by receiving. On probation in Greene County for that burglary and possession of tools. 2019, they gave him 5 to serve, 15 years probation. Also on probation, burglary and theft by receiving. Why is this running together? Okay, that's out of McDuffie County. On parole for burglary in the 2nd degree. That parole should end in September of this year. Also on parole for theft by receiving, which should end October of this year. That's it.
Okay. State.
Yes, Your Honor, this event happened yesterday near Windsor Street Southwest and Fulton Street. Officers were responding to a traffic stop where they saw a black Mazda, and they stopped it because it had extremely dark window tints. The officer did turn on his lights to signal to the driver that they were being stopped. And as soon as the vehicle stopped, 2 black individuals ran out and exited out of the vehicle and ran towards 540 McDaniel Street Apartments. Upon leaving the vehicle, a firearm was dropped by the second male who did exit, who was later identified as a co-defendant, Mr. Nathaniel Williams. As previously said, Mr. Swenson is on, he did have a parole warrant, and he was ordered for arrest by the Georgia State Border Pardons and Parole. In addition, he did obstruct law enforcement when asked about his providing his name and what have you. Considering that the defendant is a repeat offender, and then he immediately fled. He immediately fled when pulled over for what was originally a traffic stop. The state does ask for a $2,500 surety bond with no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right, PD Cam.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Swenson is 25 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia. Your Honor, he currently is not employed. He has not had a job about 4 months. Before that, he was making shirts. And after 9th grade, he was not able to complete his high school, and yet he completed his GED. We would like to request for a signature on bond. And yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for a maximum $1,000 bond. And he is qualified for public defender's services. Thank you. His co-defendant is, I guess, represented by our conflict attorney, Your Honor.
All right, who's the co-defendant?
William Nathaniel.
Okay. He's not on this calendar today. Is that correct? No.
He should be, Your Honor. I represent him.
Is he? Nathaniel is the last name?
No, Williams, Your Honor.
Oh, Williams. Okay.
He's position 17, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. And is there anything else before I rule?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
No.
Mr. Swinson, please. I know you raised your hand. Please remain silent. Anything you say, the solicitors will use against you, and I don't want that to happen.
All right, this is a bond hearing, Mr. Swinson. I am going to order a $2,000 surety bond. I am going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. I'm going to order, well, I guess that's about it. Does he have a valid driver's license? I guess he does, maybe. I was going to say no driving unless he has a valid license, but I don't know that that's appropriate or necessary.
I don't think it's necessary. He was not driving when he was arrested, Your Honor.
Okay, he was a passenger.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. That's it then, $2,000 surety bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 1616.
Okay, 23 CR 004034H, Shaquille Tyus, charge of 1 count of simple battery, pretrial.
Yeah, give me one moment. I need to put
Oh,
his history in the chat for you.
Oh, okay. I see. Is that for this case?
Yes, the tires.
Yes, for Tyus.
Yeah, let me put it in the chat. This history come out of Alabama.
Okay.
All right, check that.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. So one was criminal attempt to commit, and the other one was the criminal attempt to commit was first.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one I just sent you followed. So maybe something happened in the case for that one to follow. 2016 family offense, family violence conviction, 2014 DB harassment. That's it. And all of that come out of Alabama. This is 9th arrest.
Huh? All right, state.
Your Honor, this incident happened April of 23 this year. Officers arrived at the location. They met with Miss Brunia James, who is the victim, and they were told that defendant forcibly and repeatedly hit Miss James with a leather belt across her chest and legs due to some frustration from a verbal disagreement. Ms. James also noted that this is not the first time that defendant has been aggressive and has physically harmed her, although there were no photos of any visible harm, but photos were provided to the officers for previous altercations. The parties have been married for 1 year, and they both reside at the 1226 Fairborn Road, Southwest Apartment 04. The state was able to talk to Ms. James, and she should be online today, so I would like to sound for her when it's appropriate. But Ms. James did say that from this incident, she did sustain welts on her body, and they stated that she called the police just last night for another incident. Defendant would not allow her to leave the home while they were having this altercation due to him restraining her. She did suffer a busted lip from the incident from April, and she would like no further contact and anger management course for for the defendant. Your Honor, the defendant does wish to have some type of contact. However, the state is asking for no contact based on there being previous altercations that the cops have not been told of. So the state does recommend a 3,500 surety bond, 1 day of anger awareness program, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no further contact with Miss Brunia James.
Okay. All right, PD Kim.
I would like to ask Miss Brianna James to go first. She is on the Zoom hearing right now.
Okay. Oh, I see. Yes, Brunia
Yes.
James, do you wish to address the court today? Ms. James? Do you wish to address the court today?
Yes,
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. What would you like to state to the court?
The busted lip wasn't from the incident that happened in April. It was from last night. But I just want to say that Shaquille has never just been violent, like unprovoked. A lot of times it comes from like when he's, under the influence or something. So I really feel like it's just the alcohol that he's on sometimes. But like it's mostly because of like his temper, which is why I said that he needs some type of like anger management or something. But unprovoked, he doesn't just like attack me or nothing like that.
Okay. Any cross-examination?
Are you afraid of Mr. Tyus?
No.
Do you mind if he comes back home? Would you like him to come back home?
Yes, but I would like him to have some type of counseling.
Nothing for the Your Honor.
Okay, any cross-examination by the state?
No, Your Honor.
No, by the, okay.
Yes,
All right.
Mr. Tyus is 28 years old, Your Honor. He was born in Alabama and he's been here in Georgia for about 1 year and 3 months. And Your Honor, he is working as a waste industrial service worker full-time. And they recently had a miscarriage, so they don't have a children yet. However, this incident happened on April 23, and they have been living together, and they still have a contact. We would like to request for no further violent contact, and yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give no further violent contact, my client does not object to stay away or no further contact either. And yet we would like to request for a signature on bond because his income is very, very, he's not going to be qualified for public defender's services. And yet it's not because he was making a lot of money. It's because it was just kind of bare minimum. We would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
What was the state's recommended bond amount?
3,500, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to order $3,500 surety bond. I'm going to order no further contact with Brunia James. I'm very concerned about the accusations and the possible history. I am also going to order that he stay away from 1226 Fairburn Road, Southwest. I did not write the apartment number down. And I know this happened in April, but I'm not sure, and I am concerned about the safety of the victim as well as the cooling down period. And also the allegation, I don't know how recent the miscarriage was, but there's just a lot of factors here that concern me. And so I'm going to order for him to stay away right now while he's on bond. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. So that means no drinking of alcohol. And guess that'll be it for now. Thank you.
Position 17, Mr. Williams.
This is 23 CR 004046F. Nathaniel Williams, charged of 1 count of willful obstruction, law enforcement officer, and the 2nd count of possession of a pistol or revolver by a person under 18 years of age. Pre-trial.
It's his first adult arrest. Juvie history come out of Florida.
All right. State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Considering that the state has already given the facts for Mr. Gregory Swinson, the same facts apply for Mr. Williams. The state is requesting a 1,500, 500, 1,500, 500 surety bond, 500 for the obstruction, and 1,500 surety for the firearm, with no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and for him to surrender all firearms to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
So is that a total of 2,000?
No, it's a total of 15,500.
Oh, so tell me that again, then I wrote it down wrong. 15,000 on the pistol?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and 500 on the obstruction.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, 15,500. Gotcha. All right. And to surrender any weapons. Okay. Anything else? Nope.
Your Honor.
All right. Yes, Ms. McLeod, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Your Honor. My client is 17 years old, Your Honor. This is his first arrest as an adult. I don't know what history is alleging, but I don't think my client has been involved in any serious problems. I was able to speak to his mom. He is from Florida. His mom is in Florida, and I was able to speak with her, Your Honor. She told me that to her knowledge, he did not have any juvenile arrests. She said that he had, he was high functioning autistic, and he's had some issues with that. My client told me that he ran away from the police because he was afraid. He denies all the other allegations in the warrant, Your Honor. My client is not in a position to pay for any bond at all. He tells me that he's still in school. He's in the 11th grade. He does not have any money to pay for bonds. I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond so that he can get out of jail. Any other bond is essentially no bond for him because he has no money. Nothing further, Your Honor.
So pre-trial, are we sure that he does or doesn't have any juvenile record?
I saw Juvie history. Hold on.
He did? Okay.
You said his mother said he didn't have any?
That's what she told me.
All right, hold on. Nathaniel Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why they put it on this bond assessment? What's his date of birth?
You have his date of birth, Ms. McLeod?
Just a moment, Your Honor, I can look for his date.
Okay.
2310162.
4/13/2006.
Yeah, he got a Juvie history.
Okay.
Would you like to know what it is?
You can send it to me in a chat if you don't mind. I don't think it necessarily should be on the record.
Well, y'all brought it up. Okay.
It usually is. Correct. ASG Allen, usually if we have juvie records, that information is part of
it's
the
normally
system.
not stated, but it's up to the judge.
It's certainly available. It's not admissible in court. And that's not like later for conviction or a trial. But if it's brought up as, mitigating information or information that would, be argued by the defense in order to say this young man should be given a bond and it should be considered, then rebutting that is certainly appropriate at this point. I'll note that the warrant says this young man was identified because he's captured on video. He had red bandana and specific colored underwear, and he was seen dropping the weapon as he fled. Everyone fled. Everyone's around, I believe, the same age. So it sounds like maybe mom just isn't clear. They spoke to her on the scene to verify his identity because he wouldn't provide information to the police. So mom may just not be aware of what's going on.
Well, I guess that is possible, but as his defense counsel, I would like to know about his history. I think I should be entitled to that information. I just do not want it placed on the record. That's what I was saying.
It's admissible. It's admissible for the purposes of a bond hearing, and you just argued that he should receive a bond because he has no history. So you not only made it something we talk about, but now it is even more arguably admissible. But for the purposes of bond hearings, it's absolutely admissible juvenile history, period.
Right.
This judge needs to know, and the court needs to address issues that maybe conditions for bond, or does he need to be ordered to finish high school, or does he need to report to someone who is a case manager?
Yeah, I do have concerns, and he's from Florida, not Georgia as well. So I do have some concerns about him returning.
He's been living in Georgia for some time. He tells me that he's a student at a high school here in South Fulton, Your Honor.
So you want it?
Yes.
He got 3 cycles, 2021 out of Florida. Resisting officer without violence, Florida and problem. Those charges were dropped. Second cycle, 2021 failure to appear. All of this come out of Orlando. And the first cycle was 2019, Florida and a problem. Resisting officer without violence, and there were no problems.
So he has no history there. An arrest is not the same as a conviction.
So I read you say no conviction. I don't know if it's no history, no conviction.
Correct.
People get arrested all the time, Your Honor. That doesn't mean they did anything wrong.
Okay. Ms. McLeod, what else would you like to say on his behalf?
I would like to say that he has absolutely no convictions. He's 17 years old. He is still in high school. I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond. This is his first arrest as an adult. And any arrests he may have had as a juvenile, the charges were dismissed, which is an indication to me that clearly there was no case to be made against him.
So where does his mother live? Florida or Georgia?
She lives in Florida, Your Honor.
So who does he live with here in Georgia to go to high school in Georgia?
He lives with a cousin, he tells me.
He's listed with no address or emergency contact information in the jail booking system. So that also might be part of the reason why it's difficult to prosecute this young man out of Florida if he doesn't have an actual address or live with.
Well, he lived with his mother in Florida, so he had an address there.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the 11th grade.
Yes.
We asked him if he's on track to graduate.
Well, he tells me that he's on track to graduate.
Okay, I'll definitely.
And I have spoken, Mom tells me that he has an IEP because he's high functioning autistic. So that may explain some of the fact that he may have been arrested in the past.
I think it would be appropriate to ask for some kind of social work or intervention to review this if that's possible, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it, certainly. If we have this IEP and the autism possibly.
Police are talking to mom in Florida on the scene of this young man's arrest. She says he's got a high functioning autism. There's a reason why he's not explaining who he is to police on the scene. We have no information about where he currently lives in our system. He didn't provide any. And, you know, we're clear that at least in 2021 in Florida, he was failing to appear for juvenile matters. And now he lives here, but we don't know where or with who. So it seems like maybe some more information needs to be gathered because he's in possession of a gun and fleeing cars from the police. I'd be worried about his safety.
We're also clear that the charges against him were dropped in Florida.
Yeah, but I certainly, did you talk to the mom about
I did.
coming back to sign the bond?
I talked to her about that possibility, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to try to be consistent, number one, because I gave his co-defendant a surety bond. And I'm going to give him a surety bond as well. I'm not inclined on the signature bond because I don't know about total innocence here. And I'm concerned about a 17-year-old. And I know he's presumed innocent until proven guilty, but I'm concerned about the facts. I'll change that language around. Pardon me for saying that. I'm concerned about the gun. And just the fact that we can't kind of get it straight as far as who he lives with and what's going on here with Georgia. He's only been in Georgia for how long? A year or less?
It's been over a year.
Over a year.
With a year and a half.
Yeah. I certainly want to order a surety bond, 500 on that obstruction. And I'll do 5,000 on the possession of the pistol. So a total of 5,500. I'm going to order that he complete school. And actually, Ms. Grace, Ms. Champion, put that in the previous order for his co-defendant to make sure that they finish school or either get their GED. No drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, no guns while on bond. And if you have any other guns, Mr. Williams need to surrender them to the sheriff's department. And I guess that's all I'll order at this point. And keep your address updated. Add that he needs to give us an updated address of where he lives and with whom. And we need to have that on the records of the court. All right. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court. May I be excused?
Yes, you may. Thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor. Have a good evening.
All right. You too.
Thanks.
That's all we have in the courtroom 2.
All right. We have the one waiver that we'll do now. Is that position 11? All right, that's 23 CR 004039J. Is it Tamara Kirkwood, charged with 1 count of theft by taking, a 2nd count of giving false information to a law enforcement officer. Pretrial.
Resident of Alabama, 29 total. 2023 bail jumping, 2021 larceny. 2021 failed to identify fugitive conviction. 2020, 2019 failed to appear. 2016 and 18 failed to appear. 2014 probation. And 2013 dangerous drugs obstruction.
Okay. State.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on June 25th, 2023 at 54 Peachtree Street Southwest in Atlanta. Officers responded to that location, which is a Fairfield by Marriott hotel, for a larceny call. Upon the officer's arrival, they met with the victim, Mr. Rakeem Daniel, who stated that he was a hotel staff member for that hotel. He stated that he had to leave the front desk for a short period of time and he left his jacket behind the counter. Upon his return, that jacket was gone. The jacket contained a pair of Apple AirPods, $60 in cash. He then called 911 and accessed the security cameras to see if he could figure out who had taken it. Once he reviewed the cameras, he saw the individual still in the area. And upon the officer's arrival, the defendant was inside the hotel. The officers spoke to the defendant and she stated that her name was Latasha Scott and she had found the bag that she was carrying outside. Officers obtained her consent to search the bag, and upon searching the bag, they found the AirPod case matching the description that Mr. Daniels had given the officers. Mr. Daniel then provided the officers with the serial number for the AirPods that he owned, and that serial number matched the AirPods that were in the bag. Officers attempted to look up the defendant using the name that she provided. However, nothing came back. She was then asked on multiple occasions how to spell her name, and she continued to give the same name. After several attempts, the officer then met up with a Georgia Tech police officer who had a fingerprint scanner. The officer then used the scanner and the defendant was positively identified as Ms. Tamara Kirkwood. As you heard, Your Honor, the defendant has multiple arrests and convictions for failure ID out of Texas, several theft cases out of Texas, and a giving false name case out of Florida. And currently, Your Honor, she also has a warrant out of Alabama for a FTA and a possible parole violation. Since the fact that the defendant is a multi-state offender, the state is currently asking that her $2,000 surety bond remain in place. That is $1,000 for theft by taking, $1,000 for giving false information to law enforcement. Stay away from that incident location, which is 54 Peachtree Street, Southwest in Atlanta. No further contact with the victim, Mr. Rakeem Daniel. An anti-theft course, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And at this time, Your Honor, we ask that you sound for the victim if he is here. You're muted, Your Honor.
Sorry, is that Mr. Rakeem Daniel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Daniel, are you on the Zoom call? I don't think I see anyone else on there. All right, PD Wills.
Thank you, Judge. My client is 43 years old. She recently relocated to Georgia. She does have a GED, as well as a welding certificate, and some college, as well as some trade school experience. At this time, we would object to the anti-theft course. I do not think it's ripe at this time. Well, I won't say that, but I would just object to the anti-theft course. We would have no objection to the no contact with the alleged victim or from staying away. I have already sent an email to our social workers to speak with Ms. Kirkwood further to assess her to see if any other resources or services are needed for her. As it currently stands, she would be unable to make her $2,000 bond. I would ask that her bond be lowered.
Okay. I'm going to keep that $2,000 surety bond. $1,000 on each of the charges. I'm going to order a stay away from the 54 Peachtree Street Southwest. No further contact with the victim, Rakeem Daniel. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that's all I'll order at this time. Anything else, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Nope. All right. That will conclude our last case.
Position number 1 is a total of a $4,000 good bond reset SAP 711 Position number 2 will be reset C 628 medical. Position number 3 is a $4,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 4 is a $2,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 5 is a $3,000 pretrial bond per judge reset further notice. Position number 6 is a $5,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 7 will be a total of a $3,000 sign-on bond through the jail reset further notice. Position number 8 is reset C 628 medical. Position number 9 will be transferred to Superior Court. Position number 10 is a $3,000 pretrial bond per judge reset further notice. Position number 11 is a total of a $2,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 12 is a $4,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 13 will be reset C 628 medical. Position number 14 is a $1,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 15 is a $2,000 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 16 is a $3,500 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 17 is a total of a $5,500 good bond reset SAP 711. Position number 18 is a total $3,500 pretrial bond per judge reset further notice. Any questions?
What's number 11 again?
It's a total of a $2,000 good bond.
Thank you.
What's that reset date for number 2?
Number 2 is being reset to the C tomorrow for medical.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope, think we got it all. All right, everyone. See you all later. Take care.
Good afternoon.
All right, bye-bye.